Okay, so now that we've drawn each of our robot steps in Adobe Illustrator, we're going to import him into Adobe Animate and make him walk, make him move. So take note of this. Make sure each robot step is individually grouped. That means this is one group by itself. I'm going to undo that move. This is an individual group. This is an individual group. Each one of these is one piece, okay? And you want to make sure each one of these is grouped individually, okay? And they can't be a bunch of loose parts. They need to be grouped. So make sure you go Edit, and Object, and make sure you group them, okay, individually. Okay, so now we're simply going to Edit, Copy, and we're going to go into Animate now. Now this is Animate. We're going to set up our first document. We're going to go ahead and pick the default HD size. It's got a width and a height you can see in pixels, and a frame rate 30 frames per second. So 30 frames will go by every second. And this button over here says Create. I know it's cut off, but I know this blue button over here says Create. So let's create our document. Here's the stage. Let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit by making it fit into window so we could see our whole stage. This is the timeline. This is the properties window, and the properties window changes depending on what you have selected. And here's your toolbar, which typically I have my toolbar over here, which I'll probably move later, but I'll just leave it for now. Okay, so now we're going to click into this first frame. Now in the timeline you could have, as many frames as you want for your movie. This first this frame has a circle in it, so it's known as a keyframe. And since it's empty, it's a blank keyframe. So now we're going to go Edit, Paste, and Control V if you want to use a shortcut on your keyboard. And you have to make sure you uncheck Maintain Layers. If you don't uncheck that, each one of his body parts will create a new layer on your timeline, and you do not want that. So there you go. There's your first step. And this is just going to be a little bit of back and forth. We're going to go ahead and Edit, Copy, and go back and Edit, Paste. And you really do have to make sure that you uncheck Maintain Layers every single time. And I know some of you that have used Animate before are probably saying, hey, I would do this in a different way. Why aren't you spreading out the frames already? Why? And you wouldn't be wrong. There's a lot of different ways to do the same thing. And I've just decided we'll go this route, and we'll learn a few different things along the way doing it this way. Make sure you uncheck Maintain Layers. That's really one of the things I wanted to teach you the most, because year after year I see students copying and pasting from Illustrator into Animate, or it used to be Flash back in the old days, and there would be, people would wonder why there was so many layers being created in their new document, and things would get really messy. So you want to make sure you do uncheck Maintain Layers. Okay, Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste and Center. Okay, I almost forgot myself. Okay, and we're almost there. Edit, Copy, Edit, and if I was doing this without recording myself, I would just be using the keyboard shortcuts. I wouldn't be going up to the menu saying Edit, Copy like this every time. But not everybody has headphones, so I'm going to make sure that people know exactly what's going on with each click. So it's taking a bit longer because of that. Edit, Copy, and here we go. We're on the last one. So Edit, Paste and Center. Okay, great. Now we have all of our steps in one frame, and so now what we're going to do is we're going to select this frame, and we're going to go ahead and modify the timeline. So we're going to say Modify Timeline and Distribute to Keyframes. Now watch what happens. It separates each one of the steps into its own keyframe, and the first frame is blank in mine. So if that happens for you, right click and say Remove Frames. Okay, and now if we push Enter on our keyboard, it'll play, and also you can go Control Test. And I'm not sure if my recording is going at full speed or not, but he's walking really fast on my screen. Sometimes the video playback looks a little choppy. But if you take my word for it, he's walking really fast. So what we're going to do is right-click the first keyframe, and we're going to say Insert Frame. And this is a really important thing to know. So you can right-click on any frame and insert a new frame. And so now there's 2 frames for each step. And this will lengthen lengthen the duration of each step, and it'll slow his animation down a little bit, which is nice. And so I think it'll get a little bit better, more realistic look for his walk. And let's see, let's take a look, control, test. And so that looks good. So I'm not sure how the recording looks on your screen when you're viewing this, but right now he's looking like he's walking at a pretty good pace on my screen. Okay. So okay, go ahead and have fun importing your robot steps from Illustrator into Animate. Have fun.